Hello again, everybody. It's Mark, and I'm here to talk about trade record sheets. And I feel like I just did a video on this, and I actually did about 3, 4 weeks ago. But since then, we've made a whole bunch more changes and added a whole bunch of new features. So I'm here to again to sort of give an end-to-end guide on the whole trade record sheet process. So I'll sort of subdivide this video into two different parts. I'll go through the agent flows first, and then the pieces for brokers and staff and so on. So I should mention it off the top as well that this whole thing is controlled by a system setting called Realtors Need to Confirm Commission. So if your office doesn't have this on, then none of this will apply to you. There's no trade record sheet signing anywhere in the application at all. But I don't think that's the case for too many brokerages. So most likely you will be using this feature. So let me sort of give you an idea of how this works. So right now I'm logged in as an agent and I've just made a deal firm. And that is kind of the trigger point for this whole signing process to start. So I will receive an email that says, congratulations on your deal becoming firm. And then in this case, because I am the sort of primary agent on the deal, so it's my client and I entered the deal and so on. So if you're the primary realtor or the co-realtor in some cases where two agents sort of have responsibility for the client, then you'll see this little message that says, please visit the RealDesk transaction room and add the lawyer information for the deal. So I can actually kind of kill two birds with one stone by going into the transaction room and adding the lawyer info at the same time that I sign my trade record sheet. So I'll show you how that works first. So I'm in the transaction room here and I'm going to click on send lawyer info to the office, and then I'm going to click on the deal that I want to do that for. And then first I'll see my gross commissions and then whatever sort of splits, fees, whatever apply to me on the deal. So I can sort of check that here. And then I'll also see kind of the same thing in the trade record sheet. So the trade record sheet, the draft will open up in a little iframe here, and I can see a fair bit of information. I don't see everything. This is sort of the agent copy that doesn't have all of the different like ledger details. And as well, I'll only see my own commission. So there's multiple agents on this deal, but I'm only going to see my part. And again, it shows you my split and net and so on. And then you'll see at the bottom, there's a section that basically has space for the signatures of the agents and the broker of record, which will happen later. And if I scroll down a little bit further below the frame, it says, to the best of my knowledge, the above information is correct. So if I just check that box and then I type my name to sort of digitally sign, you'll see how that works. So that's sort of part one. And then part two is just adding the lawyer slash notary info for each side. So you can see here it's got seller's lawyer, buyer's lawyer. I kind of pre-populated some stuff to make this go a little bit faster, but there's a drop down here where you can see all of the different options. And in the case that the lawyer that you need to use isn't in our database, then you can click on add new and add a lawyer from there. So in this case, I've done the trade record sheet signing. I've added the two lawyers. I'm going to click save. It's going to ask me if I'm sure, and I'll say yes, and that's it. It will kick me back to the transaction room screen, and I'm done. So that's one way to sign. The other way, if I'm what's called a commission-only agent, which basically means that I'm not the primary or co-realtor, I didn't enter the deal, but I am getting commission on it. There's another way, and that's because if that's the case, then I won't actually have access in my transaction room to go in and edit this deal and so on, but I'll still get an email. It will be a slightly different version. You'll notice that it doesn't say anything about go into the transaction room and add the lawyer info because I don't have access to that, but it will say, please sign your trade record sheet using the link below. So if I click on this, what it does is it takes me to a page that is ungated in the sense that I don't need to log in, but it is configured for my specific account, and it has a private key as it says here. And it will show me any and all trade record sheets that I am able to sign. So I can now go in and I can see my commission, base net, and so on, and all the same information. And when I'm ready to go, I'll just click sign selected and I'm done. And that's all that I need to do. So that's sort of how that works in terms of signing the trade record sheet when you don't actually have access to edit the deal itself and you don't have access to the lawyer info section in the transaction room. Okay, so that's the agent side. So now on the staff and the broker side, how do you track, when agents have signed, and then how do you handle like the broker of record signing when the deal gets closed and so on? So Because now we have all of the agents signing, whether they're the primary agent or not, it gets a little bit more complex in some cases, right? Because you've got multiple agents that could be needing to sign in some cases. So we made this a little bit easier. There's a couple places where you can check the status of this. So one is in the conveyance. So if you see here under commissions and fees, there's this little, it'll either be a green check mark if all agents have signed or red X if all agents haven't. And then if you click on it, it will also tell you specifically which agents signed and which agents haven't and when they've signed and sort of all of that. The other place that you can do this is in the brokerage activity page. So here we have a column for commissions confirmed, and that's going to say yes if all agents have signed and no if everybody hasn't signed. But if you click into this as well, you'll see the specific info in terms of who signed and when. And in some cases, it might be that one agent is signed and the other hasn't, like this one, I believe. So you can see as well which agents have signed and which haven't. So that allows you to track that. I should note as well that when an agent is assigned to sign a trade record sheet or provide lawyer info and so on, we're also starting to create those tasks in their brokerage task list, which is on their dashboard. As I mentioned in a previous video, we're starting to do more work around that as well. So adding different tasks and reminders and things like that. And so you'll see more and more of this happening. And so that also is the case. So agents will have those tasks and they'll periodically get reminders if they have tasks that haven't been done yet. So they'll continue to get reminded to add the lawyer info if they are the primary agent on the deal, sign the trade record sheet if they're on the deal, and so on. So now let's fast forward a bit. I've actually paid out this deal and I'm about to close it, which I can do by clicking on close file, and it'll say, are you sure you want to close this deal? And I'm going to say yes. And at that point, what it's going to do as well is it will create a task for me or for the broker of record or whoever you designate to be the approver. So by default, anybody with the broker role can sign the trade record sheet, but you also can override that and set up like a specific person. Doesn't necessarily have to be a broker to do it. If you need help on how that works, contact RealDesk support and we can help you with how to like override that setting or set a different role, that kind of thing, right? But in this case, I'm signed in as the broker and it's going to say sign one trade record sheet. So this is again a system generated task. So if there's multiple pending trade record sheets, obviously it's going to say 2 or 10 or 20 or whatever. And if I've signed everything and there's nothing for me to sign, then that task just won't show up. So I don't have to physically mark that task as complete or delete it or anything like that. It'll just show up when it's needed and not when it's not. So if I click here on sign one trade record sheet, similarly to the way that that signing page for the agent works, it's going to show up here. It's going to give me the office copy, which has all of the agents' splits and fees and so on. And it's also going to have all of the ledger details to show all of the payouts. So you can see everybody's shares here. And then you can also see all of the different payments that were made and the balance that's left in my general account from the splits and deal fees going over. You can see all 3 of the agents' signatures and when they signed. And so once I'm ready to approve this, I'm just going to click the approve button. If you have multiple, it's just going to automatically take you through. You can just click approve, 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 and it'll take you through in sort of a slideshow. And there's also like an approve all button. So if you don't even want to look and you just want to hit the button and sign all 20 or however many you have, you can do that as well. Once you've done that, you can also go back and look at any of the ones that you've signed before, right? And so now you can see everybody's signature, including mine, and all the timestamps and everything is there. So then the very final piece here is that we also save copies of the actual PDF as each agent signs, as the broker signs, and so on, so that we have a record of specifically what they signed, because things could change after. You can always generate the trade record sheet sort of on the fly based on the current information. I'll show you how to do that in a second. but it's really important we know for us to have a record of specifically what the agent signed at the time that they did it. So for each of these, you can see that there's an agent copy signed by each of them, and you can see the timestamps, right? So this will show exactly what they signed. And then when we close the deal, we create a fully signed one that the broker of record has signed, and there's an office copy and also an enhanced office copy. And that is because in some cases, this is not going to apply to very many of you, there are some additional levels of permissions and some additional levels of granularity in terms of how some of those office payments are created. And there's some extra distributions and revenue sharing and so on. But in most cases, your enhanced office copy is going to be the same as your office copy. But in any case, we save all of that there so that you have everything that somebody signed. If either before the deal is paid out or after, at any point you want to create or see like a trade record sheet kind of on the fly, you can click on trade record sheet here. And this is also something that's fairly new. You can generate an office copy, or you can generate a copy that's based on any of the three sort of agents, so you can see what they see as well. So that's basically how trade record sheets work from end to end. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions at all, or if you need some help configuring something or want to change the approver role, as I mentioned, or any questions at all, please let us know. Happy to hear your feedback as well. A lot of this stuff is fairly new, so we'll probably be making some tweaks to it over time, but we feel like things are working, quite well right now. And we certainly find it, and I think a lot of the offices that are using this now are finding it a lot easier to be able to do all of this through the system versus having to, download PDFs and send stuff out through email or through signing tools and so on. To just be able to go in and click a button makes it a whole lot easier. So hope you have a good experience with that. Happy to hear your questions and feedback again. And thanks as always for being part of the RealDesk community.